I find it really fascinating because anytime there's a major failed policy, usually the public would respond by voting the government out and electing a new party in the next election. Now, our drug policy has been going on since the 1970s, ever since Nixon declared for war on drugs. It's been a failed policy for 50 years. We spent hundreds of billions of dollars. It's just gone down the drain. The criminal system is, the prison system is on its knees. There's so many areas where this policy has failed. Why is it not being picked up on? Why is it just being pushed under the rug and people aren't really bothering?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know why it doesn't get more traction, because there's a lot of people, like a lot of organizations and a lot of people now regularly campaigning and getting quite a lot of media attention in terms of asking for change and pushing for change, like organizations like Transformed, I've previously mentioned, like Transformed Drug Policy Foundation, Anyone's Child, Drug Science, the Release Drugs, I'm actually a trustee on the board of Release Drugs, and my own organization that I work for, Cranstoun, like as a frontline service delivery organization, I feel really blessed to actually work for them, because for me, the first frontline service delivery organization that's came out and been really vocal about the Misuse of Drugs Act being unfit for purpose, and that we need radical changes to the way that we currently approach this issue and deal with this issue. And that for me, that was amazing, because that's really what we've needed for a while. I think for a long time, frontline service delivery, in terms of the organizations that are out there to support people who use drugs problematically, have really sat on their hands and not said anything about the policies being wrong, because everything's commissioned in terms of services. So you don't want, services in the past have not wanted to say too much, I believe, because they don't want to put their contracts at risk. They don't want to risk their contracts and obviously losing contracts, etc. So I'm really proud to work for Cranstoun as an organisation, because we've done that, and I think we've led the way, and I think now other organisations are starting to also do that. I've seen other organisations coming out, like Turning Point Scotland recently done a series of videos in terms of the Misuse of Drugs Act. And it's a different one, because obviously Scottish organisations are funded via the Scottish Government, and the Scottish Government do want to decriminalise anyway. But Misuse of Drugs Act's not devolved. So, but we also have to call out all levels of government, and although we've spoke a lot about the UK government, the Scottish Government have made some dramatic errors in judgment, with health being fully devolved, policing and crime being fully devolved, and the fact that, our drug death rates here in Scotland are 3.5 times higher than the rest of the UK with the same legislation in place. The reality is that the Scottish Government have made some really terrible, bad decisions dating way back to 2010, 2011, where they completely cut off the supply for regulated prescription benzodiazepines, which turned that over to the criminal gangs. And then in 2016, they cut the alcohol and drug partnership budget by over £15 million, which led to the highest proportional increase in drug-related deaths in a single calendar year in 2018. They rose by 27% in a single year. So some terrible, terrible decisions have been made in Scotland, and that falls into this narrative again that's the solution to people dying from drug deaths, and the solution to drug-related harms is this utopian society where everybody's going to stop taking drugs, and people that are currently taking drugs are all going to stop. We send them all to rehab or recovery communities and mingle with other people who are abstinent, and all of a sudden everybody's going be drug free, and we're all going to live in this drug free utopia. And that's just not the reality of it. For some people, abstinence will be a route that they'll want to explore, and it will be beneficial for them, and their lives will be transformed through it. For the majority of people, what they'll probably want is to continue to take drugs, and they should be able to do so in as safe a way as they can, safe spaces where they can consume in safe spaces, and obviously get the support that they need in order to manage their drug use as best they can.
Yeah, I was just about to ask, what do you think caused that spike in overdose deaths in Scotland? I think you just pretty much answered it. Peter, what was your reason for running for office?
So, I thought at that point, I had quite a big profile. I think ultimately, going out and running a safer injecting facility gave me quite a high profile. And I thought running for political office, I could really sort of highlight the need for drug policy reform. I had no, inclination, like ideas that I could actually win as an independent. But I thought as an independent, running as an independent, I could run on, that issue primarily of drug policy reform, and the fact that, so many people were dying in Scotland. It still is out of control. Would give me a bigger platform. That was the only main reason. I believe that the bigger the platform that we've got as individuals and as organizations, the more we can shout about this, the more that the newspapers and the TV and the more podcasts we do, the more we can get out there and we can talk and we continue to knock on the door for real policy reform, for real change that's going to actually save people's lives, benefit society as a whole, the better. And that was why I did it. The one thing I suppose that came out of running for that for me personally is I would never want to be a politician. Especially for a political party. If I was ever going to get into sort of any political office, whether that be sort of local council or anything at all, it would need to be as an independent. I could not play the political game where, you're party a party and you're whipped to vote a specific way, and you can't vote any other way, even if you don't believe in it.
That's a whole different can of worms. It's almost against democracy, isn't it? You elect your MP, and then he can't vote in line with the constituency. He has to vote in line with a party. But that's a can of worms for another day.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. It's like I say. I've got some good friends who are politicians. That I've